Please join me. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 Shabbat Shalom. And as we gather under another beautiful evening, welcome to our Kabbalat Shabbat service. Whether you're joining us here or online via our live stream, we are glad you've chosen to pray with us today. This Shabbat is Shabbat Chazon, the Shabbat of vision, which is the name of the Shabbat that comes immediately before Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, which we will be marking on Monday evening into Tuesday. And Tisha B'Av is where we remember the destruction of the first and second temples, and a day that has become associated with many other calamities throughout our Jewish history. The specific name Shabbat Chazon comes from the Haftarah that we read this week, taken from the prophet Isaiah, and it serves as a reminder of the visions that can inspire us towards a future filled with hope and healing, even as we reflect on the difficulties of the past. This Shabbat, we also begin the final book of the Torah, the book of Devarim, or Deuteronomy, meaning the Hebrew Devarim, meaning words, reminding us of the power of speech and teaching. Moses shares his final teachings with a new generation, preparing them with wisdom and guidance as they stand on the brink of a new chapter as they enter the promised land, and more on this later. For now, we're going to continue our service with the singing of L'chu Neranena, which you will find on page 138. 130. L'chu Neranena, L'chu Neranena, L'chu Neranena, l'Adonai. L'chu Neranena, L'chu Neranena, L'chu Neranena, l'Adonai. Naria letzur yishenu mekadma fana betoda. Naria letzur yishenu bizmirot naria lo. L'chu neranena, L'chu neranena, L'chu neranena l'Adonai. 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 And we'll continue our Kabbalat Shabbat service, our service for the welcoming of Shabbat, with Lecha Dodi, which this time is on page 138. And as is our minhag, our custom here at Congregation Sinai, we'll be doing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we reach the final of those verses, verse 9, at that point, I will ask you to please rise and face the stairwell through which we came down this evening. Page 138 for Lecha Dodi. אותי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך אותי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם משוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, 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 כי באורך ומי אורי, אורי אורי שיר דברי. כבוד אדוני עלייך נקרא. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Please rise, בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני הסגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. And please join me on page 144 as we continue with our Chatzi Kaddish, with our half Kaddish, as we mark the transition from our Kabbalat Shabbat service, our service for welcoming the Shabbat, and our Ma'ariv service, our service for the evening. Page 144. Yitkadal v'kadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad v'rachlote v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvizman kari v'yimeru, amen. Yehesh mei Rabba mefarach, me'al amulal me'al maya, yitbarach. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן מיעלמה והימרו, amen. Page 146. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. And please join me as we continue together with the English on page 149. Together. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim, page 150. Ahavat olam bet Yisrael amecha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta Alekein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochveinu ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל אוהב עמו ישראל שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. Please be seated and join me as we continue together with the Ve'ahavta on page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. And please join me as we continue in English together at the top of page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands, marching together. Page 158. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele, לפני משה ומרים, זה עליינו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פת אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. And let's continue reading together at the top of page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts, in eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom, aleinu va'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. And as we prepare to sing the Vashamru, we are participating in a tradition that stretches back millennia. This prayer, taken from the book of Exodus, chapter 31, is a powerful echo in of itself of God's command given to Moses on Mount Sinai. And it reminds us that the observance of Shabbat is not merely a ritual, but a sign of an everlasting covenant between God and the children of Israel. The Vashamru declares the children of Israel should keep the Sabbath, observing the Sabbath throughout the generations as a perpetual covenant. It's a commitment that sanctifies our time, marking it as holy and distinct from the rest of the week. This ancient mandate highlights that Shabbat is a divine gift of rest and spiritual renewal, a weekly commemoration of God's creation, and an ongoing reminder for us of our relationship with God. We're going to continue on page 162 as we sing the Vashamru together. Veshameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. The Amidah, the heart of our service, we're told in our tradition was originally framed by the men of the Great Assembly. This prayer encapsulates our ancestors' hopes, dreams, and pleas for mercy, justice, and peace. And in their imagination, it is a direct dialogue with the divine, crafted to touch on all aspects of communal and individual needs. On Shabbat, however, the Amidah transforms. Instead of the weekday supplications for personal and communal needs, the Shabbat Amidah focuses on rest, sanctity, and joy. It reflects the essence of Shabbat as a day of peace and holy rest, providing us with the opportunity to step back from the mundane pursuits of the week and embrace a higher spiritual state. We're going to begin our Amidah on page 164, and I would invite you to please rise and join me in facing east. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומיתו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. And we'll continue reading together at the top of page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. And in the middle of page 175, you are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance, and let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yir'ah na'avod. And at the top of page 177, God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, ulecha na'eh lehodot. Page 178. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Betov beinecha levarech et Amecha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel and all people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, and varech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. And we'll continue our prayers silently. במרומיו, עושה שלום במרומיו. הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ויאמרו While Shabbat is a time for joy and a time for celebration, we know that when we come together to pray, there are those among us who are in need of healing. In just a few moments, we're going to sing our Mishaberach together on page 371. And this week, our community prays for all the hostages and all the wounded in the current situation in the Middle East, along with Lucy Adams, Sarah bat Bessie Vaben, Devorah bat Masha Yocha v'Henoch Melech, Rivka Feyi bat Phyllis, Rachel bat Yehudit, Emily Bear, Marjorie Becker, Bonnie Chait, Kevin Boland, Joseph Carrasco, Vivian Cohen, Katie Pels Davis, Barbara Eisman, Eve Eisman, Rosalind Flegel, Mike Flegel, Leonore Friedman, Lisa Frolkes, Susie Garrison, Marianne Gehrig, David Goldenholz, Ruth Goldman, Russ Hearn, Robin Holmes, Jennifer Houston, Michelle Jacoby, Pat Kester, Rory Langlois, Jim McDermott, Kara McDermott, Maureen McClown, Kathy Menchero, Donald Metzke, Bob Radke, Nancy Rahn, Mosi Ramirez, Larry Rector, Marion Resnick, David and Ann Roger, Bill Ross, Martha Ross, Micah Ross, and Sally Ross, Stella Schneider, Jennifer Sechting, Gary Siegel, Herb Selden, Jeannie Silver, Seema Silverman, Michael Stillman, Martin Strauss, Will Thompson, Deirdre Tischberg, Ted Tausman, Vito Valente, and Kenneth Wexler. And if there is anybody else you're thinking of today, I would invite you to hold their names in your hearts as we sing our Misha Berach together. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe berach imoteinu mekor habracha la'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Last week, we began our thoughts on the double parsha, Matot Maseh, with a quote from the Talmud. This week, though, I want to begin with a story from the prophets, specifically the book of 2 Kings. In this story, we find a pivotal moment in the history of our people, a moment of rediscovery, leading to transformation and renewal. Our story begins in the ancient kingdom of Judah during the reign of King Josiah over 2,500 years ago. King Josiah ascended to the throne as a young boy, inheriting a kingdom steeped in idolatry and far removed from the ways of our forefathers. Yet, we are told that Josiah had a heart inclined towards God. He sought to restore true worship and righteousness among his people. In the 18th year of his reign, a remarkable event occurred that would change the course of Jewish history. As the workers were repairing and cleansing the temple, the high priest Hilkiah made a discovery. Hidden away, perhaps forgotten in the chaos and neglect of previous generations, was a scroll that Hilkiah recognized as the Sefer HaTorah, the book of the law. This was no ordinary book. It was a sacred text, believed by many scholars, though I should note there are differing opinions on this, to be an early form or a significant portion of the book we now know as Deuteronomy. Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan the scribe, who brought it to King Josiah and read it aloud. Upon hearing the words of the Torah, Josiah was deeply moved. He tore his clothes in mourning, realizing how far the people had strayed from God's commandments. This discovery sparked a fervent movement of religious reform. Josiah renewed the covenant with God, eradicated idolatry, and reinstituted the Passover in a manner not seen since the days of the judges. But why do so many believe this book was Deuteronomy? The contents of Josiah's reforms closely align with the teachings and laws found in the book of Deuteronomy, such as the centralization of worship in Jerusalem and the call for social justice and ethical behavior. Deuteronomy, or Devarim, serves as a reminder and a reiteration of the laws given at Sinai, emphasizing the importance of faithfulness to the covenant and unity of worship. As I mentioned, the discovery of this scroll was a pivotal moment in Jewish history. It leads us, though, to an important question. How would or how could our understanding of Torah, and indeed elements of our religious narrative, be different if this scroll hadn't been found, without the book of Devarim? To answer this, we're going to explore some of the unique elements of the book of Deuteronomy and what it brings to our Torah. And my guess is some of you who know me well may already have an idea where I'm probably going with this. Firstly, what will we have been missing? Deuteronomy begins with Moses' poignant farewell address. These speeches are his last opportunity to speak directly to the people, to recount their history, and to remind them of their covenant with God. This reflection is vital for their understanding of who they are and what their mission is. There's also reiteration and clarification of the laws. The word Deuteronomy comes from the Greek word meaning second law. It's called this because it repeats and elaborates on the laws given earlier in the Torah. And this repetition is not mere redundancy. It serves to ensure that the new generation born in the wilderness fully comprehends and internalizes the Torah's teachings. Deuteronomy also stresses the importance of a single central place of worship, which will later become the temple in Jerusalem. And this centralization itself is crucial for maintaining unity and purity of the Israelite religious practice. Covenant renewal. The book of Deuteronomy includes a formal renewal of the covenant between God and Israel. This renewal at Moab reaffirms the people's commitments to the covenant made at Sinai, underscoring the continuity and enduring nature of their relationship with God. And of course, the ethical and social teachings. Deuteronomy contains numerous ethical teachings and social laws, emphasizing justice, compassion, and community responsibility. These laws are foundational to the moral and social fabric of Israelite society. By way of example, we find the requirement to appoint judges. Deuteronomy commands the Israelites to appoint judges and officials in all their towns to ensure justice can be administered fairly, reflecting a strong emphasis on the establishment of a just and orderly society. And the laws regarding kings. Deuteronomy also outlines the guidelines for appointing a king, including prohibitions against amassing excess wealth and the requirement for the king to write a copy of the Torah and to study it, emphasizing ethical leadership and adherence to that law. And finally, we find the death of Moses and the transition of leadership to Joshua, providing a sense of closure, but also continuity, ensuring the people are prepared to enter the promised land under new leadership. And we're going to go into these in just a little more detail. Firstly, Moses' final address and reflection. In Deuteronomy, this address to the Israelites is more than a farewell. It's a reflection on their collective journey and mission. Moses recounts their history, emphasizing the lessons learned from their experiences. These reflections are important as they help the Israelites internalize their past, understand the significance of their covenant with God, and prepare mentally and spiritually for the challenges ahead in the promised land. Without these reflections, the people might be forced to enter their new life without grasping the depth and meaning of their journey. As I mentioned, Deuteronomy is referred to as the second law because it reiterates and expands upon the laws given earlier in the Torah. Again, this repetition is essential for ensuring the new generation, which of course didn't witness the Exodus and the sign and the revelation at Sinai firsthand, fully internalize the laws. By restating and clarifying these commandments, Moses ensures that the principles of justice, worship, and community in communal life are more clearly understood, leaving less space, although to be clear, given the extent of rabbinic commentary over the centuries, I wouldn't try and say no space for ambiguity. This reiteration serves to solidify the legal and moral framework that will guide the Israelites in their new land. The centralization of worship and connection to the land. A key theme in Deuteronomy is this centralization of worship. Moses instructs the Israelites to establish a single place of worship, which, as I mentioned later, becomes the temple. And this centralization is important for maintaining the unity and purity of their religious practices, preventing the fragmentation and idolatry that could arise from multiple local places of worship. Moreover, Deuteronomy underscores the intrinsic connection between the Israelites and the land of Israel, linking their observance of God's laws with their right to live in the land. And this connection serves in its own way to foster a sense of identity and purpose among the people. The renewal of the covenant at Moab is a central moment in the book. It reinforces the enduring nature of the Israelites' relationship with God and their commitment to the covenant established at Sinai. This renewal serves as a formal reaffirmation of their obligations, along with a reminder of God's promises. It's a moment of collective recommitment that binds the people together in their shared mission and destiny. And without this renewal, the continuity and resilience of the covenant might be weakened, especially as they transition to this new phase in their journey. Deuteronomy is, of course, rich with ethical teachings and social laws that shape the moral and social fabric of the Israelite society. It emphasizes justice, compassion, responsibility towards the vulnerable, including the poor, the stranger, and the orphan, and the widow. These teachings are fundamental for creating a just and humane society. Additionally, Deuteronomy includes detailed blessings and curses, outlining the consequences of obedience and disobedience. These warnings serve as powerful motivators, guiding the Israelites' behavior and reinforcing the importance of adherence to God's commandments. And the conclusion of the book, with the account of Moses' death and the commissioning of Joshua, provides essential closure to the Torah's narrative. Moses' death marks the end of an era, while the transition to Joshua's leadership ensures continuity. Joshua's commissioning by Moses and by God signifies a smooth and divinely sanctioned transition, giving the people confidence in their new leader. And this transition is important for maintaining stability and morale as the Israelites prepare to enter and conquer the promised land. Without this, the narrative would lack a clear conclusion and sense of direction for the future. In our modern world, we're inundated with information from a multitude of imperfect sources. News websites and programs, word of mouth, social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and countless blogs and forums. Unlike the unified narrative of the Torah, the information we receive today is often fragmented and presented out of context, sometimes unintentionally, but occasionally by design. This fragmentation can lead to a skewed or incomplete understanding of events and issues. By way of example, a 10-second video clip on social media can go viral, presenting a single moment without the necessary context, leading to misinterpretations and the opportunity for false narratives. The dangers of such incomplete information are significant. They can fuel misunderstandings, perpetuate misinformation, and, as we've seen, create divisions within our communities. However, it is of course important to recognize these platforms, when used responsibly, can also be powerful tools for quickly sharing accurate information, mobilizing communities, fostering important dialogues. By way of example, during times of crisis or rapid developments, social media can be incredibly useful for disseminating timely and important information. The key, of course, lies in our approach to these tools. As consumers of information, we've got to cultivate digital literacy and critical thinking skills. We need to verify sources, cross-reference information, and be aware of our own biases. Just as the Israelites had to discern and internalize the teachings of Deuteronomy, we too must learn to navigate this complex information landscape with wisdom and discernment. To do this, it's more important than ever that we take on the responsibility as individuals for gaining a comprehensive understanding. This means seeking out complete and accurate information from reliable sources, cross-referencing multiple perspectives, and critically assessing the content that we consume. As an aside, critical thinking is vital, but like so many things, we do need to be cautious not to misuse it as a method to dismiss evidence we find uncomfortable or inconvenient. It's important to recognize, while scientific consensus can evolve over time as new evidence emerges, this doesn't invalidate the current state of scientific knowledge. The Talmud teaches us, teach your tongue to say, I do not know. This applies not only to our personal knowledge, but also to our understanding of scientific process. Just as our ancestors grappled with new interpretations of Torah, we must approach new knowledge and understanding with both respect for established knowledge and, of course, openness to new discoveries. Dismissing evidence simply because there isn't universal agreement among scientists, or using isolated incidents to counter comprehensive data, as has been done all too often, goes against the spirit of genuine inquiry and critical thinking. Instead, we must recognize to understand the nuances of consensus, recognizing it as our best current understanding, while remaining open to new information that might refine or expand this understanding. It's essential to recognize the biases inherent in different sources and to understand the broader context behind the headlines. During COVID-19, misinformation spread rapidly on social media platforms, leading to confusion and extra fear. Many people relied on dubious claims from non-experts on YouTube or Facebook, rather than consulting credible sources like public health organizations. This underscores the importance of verifying information and relying on trusted, authoritative sources to form well-rounded perspectives. Now that information can be created and disseminated quickly without the need for camera crews, publishing houses, professional journalists, or editors, the responsibility on all of us to verify the truth is greater than ever before. For instance, a single tweet or TikTok video can spread misinformation to millions within minutes. And blog posts or YouTube videos created by those who really don't understand what they're talking about, or those with a problematic agenda, can easily go viral without the necessary fact-checking. This rapid dissemination of information has devolved the responsibilities onto us as individuals to evaluate the sources and accuracy of information that we encounter. The dangers of incomplete information extend beyond mere misunderstanding. Just as the absence of Deuteronomy would have left the Israelites without crucial guidance, today's fragmented information landscape can lead us astray in our decision-making, both as individuals and communities. How can we see this playing out? The spread of conspiracy theories about vaccines has led some people to refuse vaccination, endangering public health and community safety. Similarly, during elections, both here and abroad, we've seen misinformation campaigns on social media influence voters, undermining the democratic process. In our communities, the proliferation of false narratives can create rifts and erode trust. Rumors and misinformation about different social or ethnic groups can and has fostered prejudice and division. To maintain community cohesion, we've got to promote accurate information, encourage open dialogue, and foster an environment where diverse perspectives are both heard and respected. The story of Deuteronomy's discovery and its impact offers us a powerful lesson for our information-saturated age. Just as this final book of the Torah provided the Israelites with a complete narrative, helping them to understand and develop an ethical framework, we too are called to seek out comprehensive and accurate information. In doing so, we honor the legacy of our ancestors, who recognize the transformative power and importance of knowledge. As we navigate the complexities of modern life, let's recall the wisdom of the Proverbs. Wisdom calls aloud in the street. She raises her voice in the public squares. In our time, wisdom is still calling out to us, but her voice competes with the cacophony of misinformation and half-truths. Like the Israelites who rediscovered the words of Torah, we must learn to discern wisdom amidst the noise. By committing ourselves to seeking truth, verifying information, and engaging in thoughtful dialogue, we emulate the teaching of Pirkei Avot. Who is wise? One who learns from every person. In our digital age, this means approaching each piece of information with both openness and critical thinking, recognizing that wisdom can come from unexpected sources, but also that not every loud voice speaks the truth. In just a few moments, we're going to begin to bring our service to a close, first with the Aleinu, which you'll find on page 586, after which we will recite our Kaddish Yatom, our mourners Kaddish together, before we finish with Kiddush. For now, I would ask you to please rise and join me once again in facing east as we sing our Aleinu together. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. In just a moment, we're going to recite our Kaddish Yatom, our mourners to Kaddish together, which you'll find on page 598. And this week, our community remembers the following who've died within the past year: Herb Bratt, Bill Nekud, Dick Kahn, Stan Jolton, Robin Glickstein, Robert Evan Leib, Dr. Alison Ruth Kravitz, Marcia Fenson, Nancy Osterman, David Hested, Gary Sobel, Eugene Chip Alberts, Hank Borkovitz, Jonathan Frank, Stan Aronoff, Dick Kuhn, Yehudi Yanai, Bill Fox, Marcia Reese, Maxine Cohn, Dr. Joseph Bear Marcus, Ron Sinclair, Margot Hirsch, Jim Stillman, James P. Karolovich, and John D. Lubotsky. And we also mark the Yahrzeit, the anniversary of death, of Sally Bodanskia, Kermit Bott, Bill Goldberger, Nat Goldsmith, Murray Herman, Evelyn Herman, Joanne Mann, Harry Meissner, Foster Padway, Morris Aaron Passion, Nancy Peters, Ari Porat, Leonard Roth, Jeanette Gecht Sobel, Daniel Sobel, Robin Temkin, Ethel Veit, Arthur Zeckman, Albert Zemmel, and Priscilla Ziv L. And if there is anybody else you're remembering this evening, or anybody whose name I unintentionally mispronounced, I would ask you to please share their names with us now. And please join me for the Kaddish Yatom. Yid Gadal v'Yid Kadash Shemei Rabbah B'alma divrach chiloteh v'yamlich malchuteh B'chayechon v'yomechon U'v'chayeh d'chol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imeru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach li'alam u'lalmei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudasha b'richu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imeru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all people, to which we say, Amen. Please be seated. And do we have someone to share some announcements with us this evening? Thank you.
Sure. That's okay. Shabbat Shalom. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jean Pirla Strauss, and I'm a member of the Board of Congregation Sinai, and I'm also chair of our Social Justice Committee. I want to welcome you all here. And I just want to say that, here at Sinai, we're a very warm and welcoming community. And if you see someone, even though we might be a little chilled right now, that you don't know, please go up and say hello to them at the end of services. Tonight's Wine and Cheese is sponsored by Judith Ross. Thank you, Judith. We're grateful for the contributions made this week to our Sinai community in memory of Arthur Zeckman and Priscilla Ziva. Join us for the following upcoming programs. The Sinai Concert Series presents Mixtape, which is on Sunday, August 11th at 5:15 to 8 p.m. And I will also tell you that as a part of that program, our Social Justice Committee will be preparing bags for canvassing, for voter canvassing. That's one of our programs is voter engagement. So they will be survival bags for canvassers. So come join us if you want in terms of putting a bag together. We're helping with that. On Monday, a joint Tisha B'Av program with Congregation Sinai Shalom and Emmanuel will be on Monday at Congregation Emmanuel at 7 p.m. And I know there will be just a joint choir program also. So members of our choir will be participating. The clergy coffee will be Friday, August 16th, 11 to 12 at Newcastle in their boardroom. And on Monday, August 19th, the Social Justice Committee, which, as I said, I chair, we will be having a meeting. We meet in person and welcome anyone who'd like to attend. Our mission this past year, we've decided, has been food insecurity, and we're doing work with Pathfinders as well as voter engagement. And when you came in, the barrel is for Pathfinders, so I encourage you to bring and look and see what needs to be brought in for that. We also have a monthly meal program. All of these things are highlighted in the e-news. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. Softball Shabbat and barbecue will be Friday, August 23rd. And there will be a wine and cheese at 5:30 and services at 6, and the barbecue will be at 7. So again, please refer to the Tuesday and Friday Sinai e-news for the latest Sinai programming, registration, information, live stream, and Zoom links. Thank you.
In just a moment, we're going to conclude our service with Kiddush. Afterward, if you are able to lend a hand, please do help us by returning your chairs to Lee. And also, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to Nathan, who's been instrumental in helping us with our streaming throughout the summer. As Nathan prepares to return to college, we wish him all success as he returns to his studies. For now, I would ask Michelle to please come up and assist me with the lighting of our Shabbat candles. You'll find the blessing on page 120. And as we are about to recite Kiddush, I would also ask you to please rise. Amen. And please join me for the Kiddush, which you'll find on page 123. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikrei kodesh, זכר יציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת לחיים. And please join me for the Hamotzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. Shabbat shalom, and thank you for joining our services this evening.